What's up, everyone? Brett Kelly with Lone Wolf Armory. It's been freaking too long since I've made a video for YouTube, let alone you guys on the social medias. If you're not following my YouTube, you're wrong, okay? You need to be following that. But all that aside, more videos to come in the future, in the very near future. But I wanted to talk about today, obviously, if you find someone who hasn't heard about the fact that Russia is fighting in the Ukraine and it's all out war there, it's that person has probably also not heard of it. We all know this, but hopefully everyone has heard the quote, "If we do not learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it." So in this video, I'm going to be going over some older but not that old Russian tactics. So this is from the old Air Force manual FM 102 TAC 1, the Soviet Army. Like I said, is from the our Air Force, some manual from back in the day. So it describes and goes into a little more detail about Soviet forces and their tactics. So I got some things written down here that I can talk about. So without further ado, let's get into this. They believed that the use of nuclear capabilities is a very real possibility in the future of not only their tactics, but warfare itself. We're kind of already seeing that because Russia's deployed their nuclear team and kind of getting nuclear warheads ready to go. This blows my mind. Tactical nuclear weapons have been assigned at the division level up, meaning the leader of somewhere between 6,000 and 25,000 soldiers has the full capability and authorization to use tactical nukes on the battlefield. That is insane. It goes on to say they have the largest, the largest amount of biological weapons in the world, and leaders, you ready for this? Leaders at the battalion level upward had the full authorization to use these biological weapons on the battlefield. So we're talking the leader of somewhere between 300 and 1,000 soldiers had the full capability of using biological weapons. Imagine what they're thinking. They're preparing for a mission and they're going, okay, this is the objective, this is the next objective, and this is the end goal. And if something goes wrong here, we have tactical nukes and biological weapons ready just to go. And it's weird to think that not one person likely spoke up and said, hey, boss, that's like the end of the world, right? So thinking about this, a 40-ish-year-old 05 in the Russian military has biological weapons laid into their tactical and strategic arsenal. It's amazing and scary at the same time. At this time, they only had 191 divisions, but every single one of those divisions had tactical nukes just ready to go at any point. The Russian military, obviously, as I just went over, have and had many things at their disposal when it came to combat, but as they were told in their mission preparation and their training, they were told not to hold back on any of their tactics and capabilities given in a conflict. So they wouldn't be holding back these biological weapons. They wouldn't hesitate to use these tactical nukes on whatever. So they had these laws of conflict, and these get interesting. The first one, the course and outcome of war waged with unlimited employment of all means of conflict depends primarily on the correlation of strictly military combatants at the beginning of the war. They clearly have not done this since they got to the Ukraine. There are countless videos and evidence of them targeting homes, apartments, schools, hospitals, all of which are war crimes. Second, the course and outcome of war depended on the correlation of the military potential of the combatants, meaning if they are civilian, then they are to use discretion to not fight them if they are non-combatants. But if they are picking up weapons, then obviously they would fight them. That's kind of what that's going for. And I wouldn't say they're following that either. Third, the course and outcome of war depends on its political content. That they mean the higher the political stakes, the longer and more violent the war will be. That's interesting to say the least, because they've been quite brutal in their conflict with the Ukraine, and it has been very publicized, and everyone and their mom has a freaking opinion on what's going on down in the Ukraine. Fourth, the course and outcome of war depend on the correlation of moral, political, and psychological capabilities of the people and the armies of the combatants. This is basically saying that modern war cannot be waged without public support. That's interesting to think about, because freaking everyone and their mom is not agreeing with what Russia's doing. And also on the other side, you got to think about the countries that would be supporting them if World War III were to break out, or their quote-unquote allies at the moment. They have China, they have Iran, they have Syria. But every single one of those countries I just mentioned, leaving out some other ones, some other smaller countries, all have nuclear capabilities and don't like us. So, World War III wouldn't be fun for anybody. The manual goes on to say they are prepared to exert themselves, to great lengths to achieve their goal. So in their war against the Ukraine, it's safe to say that they've changed up their tactics. They have gotten more brutal. They've basically come forward and said that their equivalent to our special forces is going to start publicly executing civilians to kill morale in the Ukraine. Smart move, technically, if you're them. And they're going to the letter of this statement in this manual. So I don't think they'll be giving up anytime soon, let alone stopping in the Ukraine. That's about all this manual goes on to talk about, beyond some obvious things that our allies don't already implement on. At this point, at least in the beginning of this week, coming into the latter part of the week, the Russians are getting humbled again. Sort of. I mean, they're starting to get more ruthless in their attacks and all this other stuff, but they have been notoriously bad at fighting guerrilla armies, which is pretty much what they've been fighting in the Ukraine. I mean, I would say it's about 60-40, 60% of the fighting force being civilians who have taken up arms to fight them. But hey, interesting, an armed populace can keep a tyrannical government that has been industrialized at bay for, significant amount of time. Interesting. Do I think the Russians would implement these tactics like tactical nukes or biological weapons? In my opinion, I don't think so, because the Ukraine would be a very strong foothold for them to possibly continue to take back whatever they're wanting, is taking back the grandeur of the USSR and all the land it held before. It wouldn't make much sense to completely ruin that land for 1,000 years. I am seeing a ton of things, though, on saying this is the start of World War III and all that, and it's really not. It's Russia fighting with the Ukraine. It's very public, yes, but unless someone shoots some aircraft down that belongs to an ally of ours, or vice versa, one of our allies shoots down a Russian aircraft, could be even a helicopter, that could be the start of World War III. That's about it for this video. I hope you learned something. I know I did, going back over this and kind of seeing how the Russians were back in the day 40 years ago versus they are now, and kind of paying attention to what's going on. It's scary to think about that the next step could possibly be, hey, we're losing too many people, send in the tactical nukes or the biological weapons. That's scary to think about. My name is Brett Kelly, Lone Wolf Armory. Grab one of our holsters, lonewolf-armory.com. Hats, shirts, they're freaking legit. People are loving them. We are carrying them now in some small gun stores, so be paying attention to your local gun stores. We may be coming into them soon. One thing I want to talk about, just real quick. I've been seeing a lot over all forms of social media that people are talking about ways to dodge this hypothetical draft and this hypothetical World War III that's going to start. To those people, I wanted to say you are a fucking coward for even bringing something like that up. Now, I know many of these videos and posts, memes are a joke, but behind a joke, there's some shred of truth in every joke. That's what makes it funny. God forbid if any of this happens and a draft starts and you try to dodge it, you should be fucking ashamed of yourself. This wouldn't be some Vietnam type situation or even an Afghanistan kind of situation where we're not sure why we're there after X amount of time. It would be life or death pretty much for the entire world. It would effectively be a fight for our lives and our allies' lives. It wouldn't be like that kind of situation in Vietnam or Afghanistan. It would be different. We would know why we're fighting, why we're going over there to protect our allies or protect ourselves. So it's okay to not agree with me or not agree with the draft or how immoral it is or whatever you may be thinking, but to think that some people wouldn't be in support of their country or their allies against something truly evil like Putin and their military, it baffles me. That's what I personally don't understand. And it's funny to me to see these comments and these videos saying that I don't understand how Putin can be so evil and their army can be so evil to attack civilians. You don't even have any capability of understanding the evil in the world and that our troops have seen just in the Middle East in the past 20 years, let alone past conflicts in history. That's the video. Have a wonderful day.